Hi, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Ohio Healthy Kids Step It Up Challenge informational webinar hosted by Fitbit. My name is Rick Westwall. I am the Director of Education here at Health Action Council. Today, we're lucky to be joined by Bryce Rausch, National Sales Director for Fitbit. We have had a wonderful relationship with both Bryce and Fitbit over the last several years, and today he's going to go over the rules of our upcoming challenge, including how to use the Fitbit app and answer any questions you may have about all things Step It Up Challenge. Before I turn things over to Bryce, though, I want to remind everyone that if you have any questions, please use the chat box located on the right-hand side of your screen. I will be monitoring the chat box and will hit Bryce with all of your questions at the end of his presentation. If for any reason you're having any problems with the chat box or you have any other technical issues, in the meanwhile, you can please feel free to email them to me at rwestfall@healthactioncouncil.org. I will be making a recording of this webinar, so if there's any of you out there that would like access to that, please just shoot us an email. You can either contact me or you can contact my colleague, Katie Peterson, and we'll be happy to get you set up with that. And with that, Bryce, I'll let you take over, talk about the Step It Up Challenge.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. All right, so I'm going to share a little bit about Fitbit, just in case you're curious or you're unfamiliar with Fitbit in the past, just so you kind of know who we are. We'll be your hosts for your challenge. I'll go over some details about the challenge. I'll offer some tips, some dates to watch out for, and then I also have a special announcement as well. So diving right in, Fitbit is actually now part of Google, but we have about 1,700 employees in our business unit out in San Francisco. Our mission since day one has all been around health, and our mission is to make everyone in the world healthier. So let me tell you a little bit about, it's been a wild 2020, I think, for everybody. Just some kind of highlights on the Fitbit side. We now have just less than 30 million daily active users around the world. We launched a premium membership service about 18 months ago or so, and we're really proud that we now have about 1 million paid subscribers, and there will be more on that. So keep an eye open towards the end, maybe, about more about premium. Specifically for schools, I just wanted to share we had some really exciting kind of new partnerships that we announced in 2020. So one, we launched a really large program for the employees of Texas A&M University. They've been trying to figure out how to get back on campus safely, especially in a world of COVID. And so we've been working with them with a lot of our tools and resources that can help them come back safely and also focus on their health. And then we've been doing a ton in the world of online or virtual physical education for schools as well. So programs for both teachers as well as students. So it's been pretty crazy. What's really cool is that we're going to be using some of the same tools for this challenge that we end up deploying for student programs as well as for faculty programs for a lot of our clients. Then lots on the health data side. So we now have SpO2 sensors, skin temperature variation sensors, heart rate variability, breathing rate or respiration rate, ECG for AFib. We've been doing a lot in the stress world. So lots new for Fitbit. Everybody is going to need to download the Fitbit app to participate in the challenge. And a few things besides the challenge that you'll notice within the Fitbit app is we released COVID-19 resources. So there's a whole COVID tab. You also may get invited to participate in some research. We did a very large and really meaningful and very oddly timed research initiative with Scripps Research out in California called the Detect Study. It's actually supposed to be about influenza, and I think we published it last January. And turns out influenza and COVID-19 are quite similar from a body change standpoint. Lots of new premium content has been released, so you'll be able to go and explore lots of that. And then also, we had 2 new devices released over the last year, and it's been very well received. In fact, I know a lot of you participating in this program may have the ability to win some Charge 4 devices. All right. So let's talk about the challenge. That's a little bit about Fitbit, so now everybody's caught up. The challenge will be begin on March 14th. It's a 2-week challenge. And let me quickly talk about the logistics, so how the challenge actually is calculated. So each school district is allowed a team that wishes to participate, but only one team per school. And it will take the average, so it'll basically, if you have 5 members of your team on, let's say it's Tuesday. For Tuesday, everybody that registered steps, it's going to take your total amount of steps divided by 5. So it's going to be like if you were a super user. The reason why we do that is we may have some teams with 4 or 5 people. We may have some teams with 2 people. We may have some teams with 50 people. So how on earth do you do a fair challenge that way? And averages is by far the best way to do it. And then since it's a 2-week challenge, it'll take Tuesday plus Wednesday plus Thursday, and we'll do that 14 total times. And the team with the most steps at the end of those 14 days, using that math problem I just gave you, will be the team winner. What you need to do, I have some important dates over on the right column. So March 5th is when you need to register your team. So you can go to the Health Action Council website and you'll find all sorts of FAQs, and it's a real, very seamless, probably like 3 clicks, and you're gonna be fully registered. So you'll first go in, register your team, let us know what you want your team name to be, basically just like save your spot. Then you'll have to the 12th for all the individuals to join your team and to register for the challenge. They do not need a Fitbit device to be able to participate. More on that in a second. With the challenge ending on the 28th, we allow a couple days for people to get around to syncing their device. And therefore, we announce the winners on March 30th. One really cool thing to keep in mind is that teams may stretch all across the country. So we do predict that probably most of the teams might be in Ohio, but it's really an exciting opportunity to connect and compete against schools that could be anywhere in the US. However, we do have a cap. It's really chaos if you have more than 100 total teams in any given challenge. So we do cap it at 100 total teams. We've had some challenges in the past that have totally booked up. So if you are considering participating in this challenge, you please sign up now. All right, now let me, I'll share kind of the onboarding of what that might look like, both for the team leads as well as all of your participants. So what you must do first, let's just say that you've already registered your team. Because we need to make sure that we have created your team name in the system so that when you and your teammates go to join the program, they're going to be able to select your team. They can only select your team if the team is made. So make sure you register your team first. But then everybody on your team needs to download the Fitbit app. It's free. And like I said, they don't need a Fitbit device to participate. If they already have a Fitbit device and they're already, or maybe they have and they're ready to kind of dust it off, they do not have to make a brand new account to be able to participate in this program. And then what they'll do is that they'll go to fitbit.com/care/go. And what I've included here, this is like the password for everybody to be able to get into this program. They'll go to that URL and type in 804091. And so when you are asking, maybe others in your school to participate with you, you really just have to send them that link and that code, and they'll be able to join. It'll prompt them to download the Fitbit app if they've not done so already. So it's pretty easy. You just need to make sure to go to that site and type in that code, and then they'll be able to find your team. And then honestly, as a team lead or as a participant in the challenge, your work is done as far as getting everything situated to actually participate. So then all that's left is, just walking your tails off. Now, I mentioned a few times that you do not need a Fitbit device to participate. And what I mean is there's actually 2 different ways that you could participate without a Fitbit device. Now, obviously, you need some way to tell us how physically active you are. And I will say that the preference for all those probably on your team, but also those in the program, and for yourself even, is mobile track. So mobile track will actually use the accelerometer that's already built into your mobile phone, and it will translate those into steps. And so what you do is you download the Fitbit app, and then you go into add device. You'll see all these devices that, let's just say, you don't have. And then typically at the bottom, you're going to see a little picture of a cell phone. And there's a full guide that you can find at the Health Action Council website all about this as well. And there's resources obviously at Fitbit too. But you'll add that cell phone and voila, you're done. It'll just be passively be taking the steps off of the processor of your phone, and it will be able to apply those to the challenge. So that is by far the least amount of work. And it's also validated because it is going to be recording the motion of your phone. So that means that actual physical exertion would have happened in that scenario. Maybe your phone's not supported. We work with the vast majority of phones, but maybe, hey, look, maybe you got a flip phone. I'm not going to judge. Then in which case, there's a couple ways that you can manually log your activity to participate in this challenge. You could go to your dashboard. So you go to fitbit.com and you can actually access your dashboard from there and log your steps manually there. Or you could do the same type of thing directly in the Fitbit app, where you would log an exercise, and then it'll actually calculate the number of steps from that exercise. So there's a couple of ways that you can participate even without a Fitbit device. All right, now let me give you some tips, because this might be some of your first time in a Fitbit challenge, or maybe any type of step challenge. I just want to give you a little bit of a sense of maybe what to expect and some advice. So first of all, we have really been fortunate that people have really loved this challenge in the past, and there's a lot of different teams. There are some hyper motivated individuals out there, and one thing to keep in mind is that 99% of teams are not going to be the winning team. And so that does not, I don't mean to be a negative Nancy about that, more so saying just because your team may not win doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a positive attitude and use this as an opportunity to have your own personal record, or motivate others on your team to go out there and take more steps than they would have. At the end of the day, it's about healthy behaviors and trying to turn those into habits, especially over a 2-week challenge, plus just the fun that comes from these challenges. So with all that being said, I do want to give you a couple tips that might help you register a few more steps. So the first step, and this is I'm very painfully aware of this one, but it's location. What I mean by location is if you have a Fitbit device, as you're participating in the challenge, there are some activities that as you engage in them, you may look at your Fitbit and say, oh man, it's really not giving me a lot of steps. For example, pushing a stroller. That's the one I'm painfully aware of. I have 3 little kids. I'm constantly pushing strollers, or shopping carts, or whatever. But it also might be, maybe you have an exercise bike, or sometimes even an elliptical can be a little bit of a challenge for it to actually register as steps because of the gliding motion that you're going through. If that is you, then my recommendation is you may want to consider moving your Fitbit maybe to your shoe, where it is more likely to hit 2 of the 3 access points that an accelerometer looks for before it registers steps, which is forward and backward, upward and down, or side to side. Tip number 1. All right, tip number 2 is like I said, we have 29 million daily active users, and Fitbit has been selling Fitbits for 12, 13 years, something like that. So we have been able to see the behaviors of individuals kind of at a mass scale. And one thing that's always been consistent is that when people have a few friends in their Fitbit app, when they first are starting to get moving, or when they're participating in a challenge, almost 100% of the time, the steps go up. And so I do recommend that as you're trying to think of how to get the most out of this challenge, try to move more together, whether it's in person or virtually. And there's also, you can be in more than one challenge at once. So obviously we'll have the Healthy Kids Challenge, but there's also all sorts of friends and family challenges that it would be available to you as well. And so I'd recommend going into the friends area, maybe find some friends and family members that also have a Fitbit, or you could even try to do a side challenge with your teammates that are in this challenge. You can actually be in, I think, as many as 5 challenges all at the same time. So, just consider doing that, because we know that people take about 17% more steps when they're moving together. And then a couple of data points to share, just to kind of set an expectation and provide a little bit of guidance. So first of all, as you are looking at your school district and trying to decide how many people you want on your team, having like 1 or 2 people is a little bit of a bummer. You're kind of on an island in that situation. I highly recommend try to at least get to 5. It's a much more fun experience if you can have at least 5. Now, let's just say that you open it up, especially since you don't need a device, there might be all sorts of people in your school that are really interested in participating. And as much as we want to be inclusive and have as many people participate as possible, when you get over like 15 or 20, there are positives and negatives. The positive is like you are one big like community. That is definitely the positive. The negative is, and this purely from a competitive standpoint, it's a little hard to move the needle because you just have such a high scale. So for you to try to win the challenge, if that's your key motivator, it's kind of hard to catch up when you have 50 people on your team, because you would it's taking the average of all of those movers. And so that's why having 5 to 15 people on your team is definitely much more of the sweet spot. Another thing to just keep in mind is that if this is your first challenge, the average steps during these challenges for individuals is like right around 12,000. Now, what's crazy is that the CDC recommends hitting about 10,000 steps per day. Most of us in the US, most workers in the US are hitting about 5,200 steps per day. And yet, when we do these challenges, whether it's with the Health Action Council or even for our other clients, people's step counts are usually north of 10,000. And so as you're trying to figure out what your baseline is, and you're trying to be a good teammate and trying to just figure out, all right, so where do I need to be? Just go in knowing, that the average is going to be like 10 to 12,000 steps per day for most people in the challenge. And the last thing is, if you are an individual that like, hey, look, my team, I want them to win. I want to be a good partner, but let's face it. Like I'm the runner of the group. I am a super duper ultra crazy marathon person, and I want to be like the number 1 of all the individuals in this entire challenge. All right, first of all, bless your heart. I hope you have a lot of fun and make sure you're stretching. However, number 2, just so you know going in, you're probably not going to have a single day less than 20,000 steps if you're going to try to win. And that's like 10 miles. In reality, you might see, I think every single challenge we've done is that somebody that's had at least a day or multiple days north of 40,000 steps, which is bonkers. And it does not mean always that somebody's cheating. You're just going to have those handful of folks that are training for something. And so, which is great. I hope that person's on your team. I'm glad I'm not that person. My body hurts enough the way it is. But as you're going into the challenge, just have that in the back of your mind, that that's kind of where the bar is. If you need any help with anything, there are a few places that you can go for assistance. So first, for all questions about the challenge, the program, your go-to, let's just say, hey, our team name is spelled wrong, or I'm trying to get to join my team and I don't see him on the list. Or hey, why do my steps seem wrong? Then your key person would be Katie Peterson, who's a part of the Health Action Council team, and I've included her email and her phone number and extension here for you. I'd also say, as a first line of defense, you may want to go to the Health Action Council website. They have a whole FAQ right there as well, so you may be able to answer your question by doing a little bit of research. If you have questions about, let's just say you have a broken device, or you think that there's a bug in the system, so it's like a technical problem with a Fitbit product, like the challenges in the app or your Fitbit device, you can email cwsupport@fitbit.com or call 844-5-FITBIT. There's also a web link, just help.fitbit.com/cwsupport. There are so many ways that you can troubleshoot. You could tweet us, you could go on Facebook. So there's a lot of different ways that you can reach us if you're having a technical issue with the Fitbit product. if you have a question about Fitbit products or services, or maybe you have an idea for future challenges or a feature idea, things like that, or maybe you have a best practice you'd like to share, you can feel free to reach out to me. So I've included my email address and my phone number there for you too. Oh, almost forgot. Remember I said I had kind of like a special surprise for you. So I mentioned Fitbit Premium earlier. Let me kind of walk you through what Fitbit Premium is, and I'll kind of spoil it right up the top. But everyone participating in the challenge, as you are joining the program, Fitbit Premium is automatically going to be activated for you to check out and be motivated by, to hopefully get even more steps and give your team a better chance of winning. The one thing to know about Premium is that though there is lots on the exercise and movement front, there's actually quite a bit more involved in Fitbit Premium that you can check out that have nothing to do with taking more steps. So there's lots of kind of stress and mindfulness tools. There's sleep related tools. There's kind of deeper analytics. There's all sorts of guided programs. I think Kick the Sugar is one of our most popular. And you'll be able to find it by, there'll be a premium tab in the Fitbit app. Yeah, over 200 video and audio workouts, 100 plus mindfulness audio tracks, and over 15 guided programs. I mentioned the Kicking the Sugar one a moment ago. So lots to explore. There's also some custom challenges that you could do with friends. So there's like a bingo game. There's an all for one challenge. There's a get fit puzzle. So you could invite your friends to participate in that. Also, there is special pricing for teams that are interested in potentially setting up a subsidized storefront for maybe your employees for bulk devices. We have Ready for Work bundles, which has a COVID check-in tool that allows you to do some exposure tracking and maybe alert somebody maybe before they go into school that they may have symptoms that are similar to COVID. They may want to get tested, and lots more. You can reach out to me if you'd like to learn any more about any of those programs as well. And with that, those are my slides. That is the challenge. So Katie and Rick, did we have any questions that came through?
As of right now, Bryce, no questions came through. Katie, is there anything you'd like to add in to the conclusion of Bryce's presentation?
No, I think we've covered it all.
Awesome. I will say one thing to the audience is that I got to post 50,000 steps once, and I had to run 10 miles, ride my bike 35 miles, and walk around Edgewater Park for an hour and a half to make it happen. So it's to Bryce's point, I was training at the time for something. So when you see those kind of like huge numbers, it's hard to compete with. It's hard to compete with. I hope to not ever have to do that again. And that being said, actually, Bryce, I kind of admire you. I'd rather be pushing a stroller than running 10 miles. So, and that being said, thanks so much, everybody, for joining today. Again, I've made a recording of this. Bryce has offered in his slides multiple points if you have any questions. But again, you could feel free to reach out to Katie Peterson or reach out to me, Rick Westfall, at rwestfall@healthactioncouncil.org. With any of your questions, one of us will get you an answer no matter what you're facing. And with that, that concludes our session today. We hope to see you and your team stepping rightly here in a couple weeks. So thanks so much, everybody. I hope you have a great day.